Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this first pod session, which is called Business Growth, Going from Good to Great. My name is Sean Jardine, and I'm partner and CEO of Bretherson Solicitors. And I'm delighted to be here to represent Bicester. One of the reasons I'm delighted to be here is my business opens a brand new office in Bicester on Monday. And this has got me out of packing lots and lots of boxes. So I'm personally very pleased to be here. Over the next hour or so, and when I strictly limit the speakers to 12 minutes, you're going to hear from 4 individuals, all of whom have got Bicester at their heart, and to tell you about what is going on in Bicester and why Bicester is a great place to live and, more importantly, a great place to work. If I give you some headline statistics of what's going on in Bicester, you might be interested to know that the 2011 census identified that the population of Bicester was 30,854, and that is predicted to double by double to 50 or 60,000 by 2031. We have 10,129 new homes being built by 2031. We've got 138 hectares of new employment land, and that equates to 18,500 jobs. And we have new schools, and I'm sure that the new schools will get a cheer at the appropriate part throughout these presentations. The first speaker that I'm going to introduce you to is Miranda Markham, and she is from Value Retail, a business that was so keen to be associated with Bicester, they named their business after it as a town. So please welcome Miranda Markham from Bicester Village.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am going to be saying some very positive things about Bicester, and I'm delighted to see in the audience we have a Bicester audience, or a certain section of the Bicester audience. Give me a little cheer over there. Bicester Village chose Bicester for some very, very good reasons, and I'm sure you'll be aware of some of them, perhaps not all of them. The very first reason Bicester Village chose, or Value Retail chose, to set up their first ever outlet in the UK, in fact it was one of the first outlets in Europe, in Bicester, was first of all for the very physical reasons of the excellent access, and today Bicester really still boasts even more, actually, excellent access points. Equidistant between London and Birmingham, as you know, and now boasting not one but 2 train stations. The only train station, Bicester Village train station, the only train station in the UK that has announcements in about 6 languages. We also run a shopping express service, which you may have seen running around London. It's like a mobile billboard, but that shopping express goes to all of the key London hotels and brings people direct to Bicester Village from there. So the access for us was very important, although Bicester itself was very little known, not very well known. I was actually born and bred in the area, and Bicester was the place I got the train to London, but that was about it. Roll forward to today, and Bicester is now known to people all over the world, partly because of Bicester Village, I'd say quite majorly because of Bicester Village, but also because Bicester is a place now that the government and many other people have identified as somewhat of a boom town, the place where it's all happening. If you want to see what's going on, if you want to see a place that's buzzing and moving forward, it's Bicester. Yes, we have great transport links, but one of the other reasons we chose Bicester as a site to develop was because it's right in the heart of the Cotswolds, in actually a very beautiful area, the edge of the Cotswolds, but also close to all those other tourist attractions, which by no coincidence makes for the perfect day out, the perfect weekend away. And our chairman, Scott Malkin, had that in mind. It wasn't ever going to be just a shopping centre. It was going to be a state-of-the-art destination. And today you can say, without being challenged, that Bicester Village is a tourist destination in its own right. So back to the early days, 1995, when I began actually, some of the Bicester crowd might recognise the Burgess sign. They were quite a well-known family, not always for the right reasons, who owned a piece of land in Bicester. And this was the site that we chose to develop Bicester Village. And it was somewhat of a spaceship that landed in the field, because no one really knew what the concept was. No one really understood what the concept was of outlet shopping. And certainly as the village began to be built, this new steel frame that went up. A lot of people thought it was warehouses, but then it got more and more luxurious. And it was quite innovative in its time. And today we have 9 of these villages across Europe, and actually 2 now in China. So actually, on the subject of Chinese, when did it all change for us? Well, back in 2005, I think, the visa restrictions were relaxed for the Chinese visiting the UK. And although we had tourists coming all the time, probably 20-30% domestic tourism at Bicester Village, in 2005 something big happened. The first delegation of Chinese came to London on a government mission to see what the UK was like as a destination to travel to. And they all wanted to go to the iconic places such as Buckingham Palace. And very, very quickly, the Chinese cottoned onto the fact that Bicester Village was around the corner, and they whizzed around, took their photos of Buckingham Palace, and made a beeline for Bicester Village. And we literally had almost an invasion of Chinese, and that first delegation propagated just many, many more thousands, millions of Chinese visits that continue today. So that was somewhat of a turning point, but I think it was at that point that we could really recognise that Bicester Village had become an international tourist destination. As you can see, it has evolved over the years. We've had several growth periods. And I have to say, every time that Bicester Village has grown, it has been done in a way that has complemented the town and the general area. And it's been very, very important to our owner, Scott Malkin, and to the brand of Bicester Village, that it is seen very much as a partner with the region. As I said to the local community when I first joined in 1995, we come in peace. A lot of local people at that time, particularly the traders in the town, were very fearful that Bicester Village would be the death knell to the town centre. Now, obviously, town centres across the UK are suffering today. Bicester is no exception to the trends that make life for town traders very difficult, but we do work very hard to share our success, and certainly to make sure that anyone that can visit the town, stay in the restaurants, use the hotels, we encourage them to do so, and this has been very much part of our partnership activity from the first day we opened it, and will continue to be that partner activity. Quick slide to show you how we analyse our nationalities that visit Bicester Village. The big blue slice of cake there is China. We have a very strong visitation also from the Middle East. And then you'll see that there's quite a mix of nationalities. And Bicester Village, just like anyone else, is very, very subject to the macroeconomic trends at the moment, which are massively fluctuating. We have so many things that affect our business, particularly with the tourist travel at the moment, not least the fear of terrorism, the strength of the pound, and generally all of the things that are happening all over the world which influence the visitation. But China is very much one of our bedrock tourism visitations, and the Middle East also a very strong attendance of those. But we are working constantly with Visit Britain, with our tour operators and partners, to really understand what the new trends are, and to work actually at bringing people into the UK, not just to Bicester Village, but to bring people into the UK, going on overseas missions, sharing stands with Visit Britain and saying, if you're coming to the UK, it's not all about London. There's lots going on, and this very much ties in with the current great campaign that David Cameron has espoused, which is really about bringing people to the whole of the UK, not just to London. So there you have it, the 3 core markets: China, Middle East, Southeast Asia. I mentioned the great campaign, and Bicester Village really has evolved as an experiential place. It's not about just shopping. This has been critical to our business model. We are the world leaders in outlet shopping as I speak. Having said that, we do have competition. The competition comes from the internet. I think this is something that the town centres have particularly suffered from, and also from just generally the way that people are discretionarily spending their time now. There are so many choices for us all, such a wealth of opportunities for us to do things with our money, with our time, and that's why it's critical to us that when you come and have a day at Bicester Village or in any of our villages, you have a fabulous time, that we surprise you, that we delight you, that we deliver an experience that you want to discover, rediscover, and tell your friends about, and that's very much part of our culture. We have one big fan, David Cameron. He's been very supportive, and you may have known this, but when the Chinese ambassador said to him, you know, how can I get more, when he said, how can I get more Chinese tourists to come to Bicester Village, the ambassador said, just build more Bicester Villages, which was a great soundbite that we have used time and time again. So I've talked a little bit about Bicester Village. I'm not sure how I'm going for time, but very important that we talk about Bicester Town, because I mentioned Bicester Village has gone from strength to strength. Whenever I meet anyone, it's, oh, you're growing again, you're getting bigger. Yes, we are, but actually we're part of something even more exciting, which is the town of Bicester and its place within Oxfordshire and its place within the UK. Bicester is the centre of everything that is happening right now. And my role as Community Relations Director means that I get to have a foot in each camp. I have one in Bicester Village, I have one in the town, and I hear and I feel and I experience what's going on locally, and I can see the excitement that's coming on from all the development. Many people should have discovered Bicester Village 20 years ago like we did, Bicester Town years ago like we did, but actually I believe the whole country is beginning to harness that idea that Bicester is a great place, not just for the access, not just for the fact that it's in a beautiful part of a still sleepy Oxfordshire countryside, but also because it has fantastic potential. And being part of Bicester Vision, which is the stand that is here today, is really one way you can harness that potential, because Bicester Vision has allowed Bicester Village and other stakeholder businesses in the town to really understand the challenges of working within budgets, the challenges of developing a town from an old-fashioned market town into a town that is really trailblazing for the future. And it's very exciting to be part of that, but also to hear from all three tiers of local government and other businesses how we can work together to make that happen. So, you know, I do have to fly the flag for Bicester Vision because it's been a huge help to us. And it would be a huge help to you if you're looking at developing a business in Bicester. So Bicester itself has undergone a huge refurbishment, the new Sainsbury's. We have a link to the town, and we have many visitors that use the town, but we also have 3,000 members of staff who use the town for their day-to-day shopping and convenience. One of the other things I do wearing my community relations hat is to make sure that we are sharing our success and that we are adding value, and to understand where there is need. And I always say to my colleague Lucy, is it in Bicester? Let's look at Bicester first. If there is a need, let's make sure we look after our local community first. So we do things like supporting social initiatives. We work with many of the local charities. We have a volunteering programme. We also support cultural events. The town council are here. We like to understand what the town council are doing, how we can help support, perhaps amplify some of the things they're doing. And it's about bringing visitors to Bicester Village, but also to share the town. I am giving my 1-minute warning, so I'll whiz through. So sport is another thing that we support, and I have to just speak briefly about apprenticeships. I listened to the Oxfordshire apprenticeships earlier. We are very passionate about apprenticeships, and we work with the pipeline of the local schools to make sure that retail is an interesting career. It's a career where you can develop yourself and go on to very great things. And we have 30 apprentices at the moment working with us. We've had 200 through the scheme, and we hope to have many, many more. This is our new town station. It's called Bicester Village Station. That was not popular with the local community, but people are beginning to understand why having it named after a global landmark actually does help with passenger numbers, and we are getting towards 40% increase year on year with the new station open. And finally, phase 4 of our village. This is a consolidation of Bicester Village. This, I think, will be part of one of the new building blocks in the town centre, along with the business park, the housing growth, and the other operators that are coming in that will complete Bicester. So I hope I've told you something new about Bicester, but if you are looking at doing something in the area or looking to Bicester for business, do look again. It's a fantastic town with a great future. Thank you very much.
you, Miranda. It's very interesting that we go from Bicester Village, and Miranda mentioned 3,000 members of staff in that business, and how they are probably at the leading edge of retail. What they're selling is everything that is very new, very modern, very trendy. Our next speaker is somebody that doesn't do new, modern or trendy in his business life. I'm not talking about his sartorial elegance, which you can judge for yourself about that. But it's a business that is relatively new to business, relatively new to Bicester, but the business that it operates is actually rooted well and truly in the past. Please welcome Dan Gagan from Bicester Heritage.
Thank you very much, Sean. And Miranda, always a tough act to follow, both in business and on the stage here. And Bicester Heritage might sound a little old-fashioned, might sound that it's a little parochial, but nothing could be further from the truth. If I told you that 4 years ago we happened upon a £4.3 billion a year industry employing 28,000 people, but it had no focal point, no centre, I think that you would agree with me that our mission would have to become to start that centre. We're actually a startup. We started 3 years ago this month, so we have an interesting look back on what we've achieved over that time. And the industry I'm talking about is one surrounding historic cars and aviation. It's quite a sleeper in the UK. It's obviously hit the headlines most recently in the Financial Times on the weekend regarding its investment potential, but actually it is a cradle of craftsman skills, discretionary spend and deep interest, not only in the Oxfordshire area, but in the UK and further afield. We have been focusing on creating what is effectively a technology park. This technology park engenders the skills and the future of those skills, and we feel very much that we are about the future of this quite large industry. To give you a benchmark, our global whisky exports, for example, are 4.6 billion per year, and in fact our national motorsport market is 9 billion per year, and so the historic car movement represents a huge chunk of that sector and has national significance in terms of size. So far, I'm pleased to report that of our first 12 businesses, 6 were startups. And so we found ourselves incubating, as Matt Hancock says below, in a modern style startup businesses. These are people who had left the corporate dollar and stepped out on their own bravely to start businesses in a benign environment where there are customers on site, and we are building a global brand also to ensure that their exposure is de-risked. Since then, we had a total of 12 businesses in the first year. We've been adding roughly 1 per month, and now we find ourselves with an array of 35 businesses on effectively a technology park, benefiting from that cluster effect. The referrals, the time savings, the value add, not just for those synergies between the businesses, but also for the customers. And so, rather like the Bicester Village spaceship landing 20 years ago, in the early days we were at pains to describe what we were doing because effectively we had 2 customers. Firstly, the specialists themselves, so we described ourselves as a business park for them, but their customers, we describe ourselves to them as more or less a marina for historic cars, a classic car country club, and I'm pleased to say that having Bicester in our name has really accelerated our opportunity and given us a national, if not global, recognition very, very quickly. We're pleased also to be involved with the former RAF Bicester site, 348 acres of flat land, but we have 500 trees, about 8 acres of covered space in 60 buildings, 19 listed buildings, 20 scheduled ancient monuments, and we are now being held up by Historic England as a national exemplar for constructive conservation. And it was very kind of Matt Hancock to recognise our ambition, but also our focus in saying that there's no reason why Bicester Heritage can't become the global hub in heritage cars and planes, bringing talent, enthusiasm and business together. Why Bicester? I think by the end of these presentations, it'll become pretty obvious. It's a fantastic environment to do business. When we got here, we were braced for problems. We'd inherited a site that had been derelict for 40 years. It was on the National At-Risk Register and considered in the UK to be, of all the defence estates, the one most at risk. But the spirit of Bicester has been very much can-do. We understand that you have ambition. We understand that there should be opportunity here, not just problems. And so, through Bicester Vision, through many of our contacts, which we've acquired very quickly, we've really been able to supercharge our business plan. We're here because, same reason as the Romans and the RAF, but also Bicester Village, it's an unbeatable location. We think we're 90 minutes from roughly half the population, and also having such a strong brand as Bicester, it has given us access not just to recruitment, but also to getting column inches for media attention. And in fact, we've just had recent articles in the Evening Standard last week, and also across social media, and which is a wonderful way to get the message out there. We've been very pleased with our ability to access the stakeholders from Bicester Vision through to Westminster. Bicester is on everybody's agenda throughout those institutions, but when I say that in the same week we got a visit from our local parish council, followed by the Secretary of State for Defence, who wanted to find out what we were doing. They didn't all arrive by helicopter, but the latter one did. It's no exaggeration to say that Bicester has, in its own right, created a recognition which is extremely valuable, and in fact has de-risked our business plan quite considerably. So, in a nutshell, Bicester is an on-the-move, energetic location. We're very close to international airports. I think that it's credited with the Midlands feeling it belongs to them, and the South East feeling similarly strongly, which I think is fantastic for marketing and acceptance. The national awareness of Bicester has really given us a complete door opener, and so I think nowadays instantly people know where it is, with its equidistance from 2 junctions on the M40, not to mention 20 miles from the M1, and as Miranda has alluded to, various other very significant national attractions. One of the issues that we find with businesses joining our campus is the concern about moving from far afield, but also about recruitment. They typically find themselves having had difficulty finding the skills in their regions, but that's not the case in Bicester. One of our specialists arrived 4 weeks ago. They put an advertisement through the social media in Bicester. They had 31 applications within a week. We've experienced the benefit of that also in recruiting for our own team, and we've done that very successfully, very, very quickly. And in fact, there is a great heritage of particularly engineering skills, but other skills in the area. And of course, the accessibility of Bicester means that the catchment for bringing people in with skills is very strong, but also there is plenty of housing supply. So if people are relocating, there's an opportunity to get on and live here in a town that has thought big and is thinking much bigger into the future. The networking opportunity through Bicester Vision has been talked about today and continues to be talked about. I think, I beg your pardon, will continue to be talked about. It's a great organisation. We've benefited greatly from that, and we have noticed very much an open door policy. In fact, we are from the other businesses, and we are creating business alliances in the area, and it's been a great boon to our activities. A nice quotation from the Evening Standard a couple of weeks ago. The turnaround for the time capsule airbase dating to the 20s has been spectacular. I really don't think that would have been possible outside of Bicester and its accessibility. It wouldn't have happened so fast, so convincingly, and in such a risk-free fashion had it not been here. We've got a vision, that is to tap into or provide for the visitor economy in Bicester. The footfall is dramatic. I think it, across Oxfordshire, accounts for about a third of the tourism traffic. We are looking at these heritage assets and looking to promote those and exhibit them beyond our initial business park idea. We want to create a destination motor show where it'll be like going to probably a car museum, but everything is for sale. We have a try before you buy opportunity there. And we're also looking to explore the possibilities of hotel and conference facilities which are lacking in the area. And alongside that, as a further attraction to visitors, develop our events and experiences. And so, whilst we've achieved a lot, the site is already, within 3 years, contributing £20 million worth of trade to the locality. We've got much bigger ambitions, and we look forward to enjoying the support of our neighbours and other stakeholders. Just a couple of words on apprenticeships. Very interesting to hear what Bicester Village are engaged with also. We founded last year the first historic vehicle restoration course, restoration apprenticeship in the country. It's the only accredited one. We very quickly found that Banbury and Bicester College, Activate Learning, were open to the prospect of launching a brand new course, and did so last year with 8 students. We now have 28 for the coming year, and it's actually outgrown the Modern Motorsport College just half a mile from us, and we're welcoming them to a building on our own campus, fulfilling one of our pillars of ambition, which is a great excitement. The future of these skills needs to be preserved, and we're better than a working environment when they can be practiced and shared amongst future employers and also amongst future customers and existing customers. So the future proofing continues. Hope you'll come and see us. We've got a Sunday brunch and open day on this Sunday. Please book in advance. The tickets are selling, and if you want to avoid the queue, we would be delighted to see you. And even if you don't like cars and planes, we've got a perfectly preserved pre-war bomber station, the last of its kind existing. And if we can transfer not only the knowledge of these apprentices, but also the experience to visitors, then we would be thrilled to see you. So thank you very much.
I found that especially informative because my brother's coming over from France with his kids at the weekend, and I was thinking, what in God's name can I do with them? But that's just taken care of Sunday. There was a great line that Dan actually mentioned, that locating his business in Bicester de-risked the business plan. And I know that we all have business plans, we all look at the risks associated with them. Dan and Miranda have both mentioned apprenticeships and how it's so important to get those skills and train people to have those skills in your business. But also, of course, it's important that the people who are already in your business are trained and get knowledge. And one of those things is, well, where can you get knowledge from? The next speaker is John Corlett from Oxford University, and he's going to talk to you about knowledge transfer partnerships. I will express a kind of a vested interest in this. My board, we've just finished a 2-year knowledge transfer partnership with Oxford Brookes University. I can tell you what, at one of the meetings that we had at the campus in Wheatley, I put my head in my hands, and with the 2 professors from Oxford Brookes were there, and I just said, this stuff is really hard. And the sympathetic response I got from the lady concerned was, it's supposed to be. So I do actually, I'm a great fan of knowledge transfer partnership. It has really helped my business, and please welcome John Corlett, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the process.
Thank you very much. So, business growth, 5 reasons to love KTP. Well, late last year, am I on the right way? Yeah. A government funding programme for business growth reached its 40th birthday. Now, that's actually an unprecedented record of durability in these kinds of things. And we had all kinds of things going on around this by way of celebration. Now, this is odd, you might think, for an anonymous set of initials to inspire such devotion, but to its practitioners like me, and to companies that benefit from it, such as Sean's company, Brotherton's, and other companies in Bicester, we know it's something special and it's something that deserves a wider audience. So that's why I've been invited along here today to join you. Now, at Oxford Brookes University, we love working with companies. We're well known in many professions, as you may know. Motorsport, publishing, hospitality management, accounting, architecture, planning, to name but a few. But more generally, we like to be useful, we like to be approachable, we like to be engaged, we like to get research and expertise out into the commercial world where it can have a positive impact. So KTP, or Knowledge Transfer Partnerships, is therefore very dear to our hearts. But first, here's a thought experiment. I need you to imagine an innovation project in a business. It might be your business, or it might be a business that you're associated with, or a business you advise. It's a project which is bringing some important capability into the business that's going to make it more competitive and more profitable in the medium to long term. So maybe you're adding a new technology to a product, or improving the materials it's made from, or the process by which it's made. Maybe you've seen the opportunity for a new system that's going to help you to work faster or with less cost. Or you've seen a way to open up a new market. Whatever it is, artificial intelligence, robotics, computer vision, advanced networking, low power, lightweight, low carbon, all of these and many more are examples of the kinds of innovation challenges that KTP can address. So, for example, we're working with a company called Metavision Systems in West Oxfordshire about using computer vision to help assess the quality of robotic welding. We worked with a company just around the corner from here, a publishers called Global Water Intelligence, on a knowledge management project that was able to systematize and exploit this vast fund of knowledge that they'd built up over many years of the global water market. So it's also a project, this one in your head, that's new, and therefore it's difficult, as Sean says. It's not meant to be easy. You can't go out and hire a consultant to tell you the answer in 3 months. In fact, it's probably going to take you something more like 2 years. It's probably a project that's new to your sector, and you need to work out the solution step by step, working with a partner. Now, 10 years ago, we were running KTPs in internet marketing, but now that's easy. Now it's more likely to be to do with big data or machine learning or the Internet of Things. So Knowledge Transfer Partnerships is designed to tackle just this kind of project. It's a long-established program that enables smaller companies in particular to harness the power of universities. It's part funded by Innovate UK, the government's innovation agency, and it's there to support business growth by bringing in ideas and technologies from the world of research and embedding them in enterprising companies. So, this is how it works. You work with a university to define and plan your project, and you apply for KTP funding from Innovate UK. And when the funding is awarded, and there's every likelihood that it will be, very good chance of success in these programs, you set up the project team. And in this, the key role, perhaps the most interesting one, is that of the KTP Associate. Now, the KTP Associate is a recent graduate. Could be from a first degree, a master's, or sometimes even a PhD. But it's a recent graduate who's recruited into a proper job. They're not a student anymore, it's a proper job. Recruited from anywhere on the planet to work on this project. But the trick about it is that although they become an employee of the university, they work at your premises on your project and become embedded as part of your staff. So academic experts from the university then supervise and support the associate throughout the project, again at your premises, bringing in new knowledge from the world of research and applying it to achieve your solution. In effect, you've created a kind of innovation space with your project, which has its own ring-fenced people, ring-fenced resources and ring-fenced budgets. It gets things done. So in KTP, we work with every kind of business, from multinationals. For example, we've worked with Sony. We've worked with the world's largest hotel chain, Intercontinental, to high-tech local engineering companies like Yasa Motors, to our own spin-out companies. We've worked with architects. We've worked with a law firm. And we worked with a bus company. They all have different reasons, and often multiple reasons, to engage with KTP. But what I'm going to do is to talk about the top 5 reasons, which, as I see it, are to increase profit, to attract new talent, to spread the risk of innovation, to find partners, and to get noticed. So, reason number 1, to increase profit. Companies go in for KTP in the expectation of increased profits, and the latest national figures confirm this perfectly. They show an average annual increase in profit before tax of more than £1 million per annum. Now, it sounds a lot for a small company, but this is the average across all sizes of company that take part in the scheme. Indeed, our project with Intercontinental Hotels, we reckoned at the end it had saved them £18 million. We were working on risk management and enterprise risk, and we were saving them a tremendous amount of money, particularly in insurance premiums. But so they can achieve quite significant and spectacular results on profitability. But in addition, each KTP leads on average to the creation of 3 new jobs and an additional 31 staff trained. The extra profits, by the way, earned primarily through product sales, new products or existing products, but improved operations, enhanced quality are also significant factors. So it's clear that KTP succeeds not just in bringing in new ideas from a university, but also in making them work for a company in a way that translates directly to business growth. Reason number 2, to attract talent. Now, an ageing workforce, dearth of new recruits. If you're in engineering or IT, among many other areas, you'll probably recognise this scenario and appreciate the kind of dangers that are involved. Not many companies can afford an extensive graduate programme to bring new people into the business, but with KTP, you've got the winning combination of a challenging project and support from a university that can really appeal to the best young talent around. The KTP associate that we recruit for each of our projects is an ambitious young person focused on a career in the commercial world. They also benefit from exceptional training and development while on the job. And in most cases, they'll go on to work for the company when they've finished. So in terms of attracting talent, it's really an obvious strategy for a business that needs bright new people. There's a couple of ours from recent projects. Reason number 3, to spread risk. Now, if you've got a clever R&D idea or an enticing market opportunity, but it comes with a few uncertainties, what do you do? And a smarter kind of company, I think, will look to mitigate that risk by looking for an experienced partner or perhaps getting in some external funding. And the good news about KTP is that the package comes with both. You've got the academic experts from the university. You've also got up to 67% funding from government. The rest is paid by the company. But the result is this innovation platform, which makes it possible to engage, to explore new opportunities in a manageable kind of way. reason number 4, to find a partner. Once you've established a working relationship with your university in a KTP, companies often find that they'll get other benefits from this partnership. Typical extras would include projects or placements with students at the university, or staff to consult about technical issues. There may be lab equipment or workshops that you can use which are beyond the reach of a smaller business. Company executives may attend seminars on campus or even come and deliver them, or make joint presentations with university partners at industry events, and so on. The list goes on. And finally, reason number 5, to get noticed. A lot of companies appreciate the endorsement of their work by an independent research-led body. So the outcome of a KTP can often be a product or a process or a system or something that's seen to be tested and validated. It can raise the profile of the business, demonstrate its credentials, and enhance its reputation. So, profit, talent, finding a partner, getting noticed, spreading the risk, maybe these are on many people's agenda. So it's not surprising to find that 9 out of 10 businesses that take part in KTP, according to the figures, feel the results they achieve will significantly improve their future performance, and 86% of them are looking to collaborate further. So that's essentially it. If you want to know more about KTP, we can talk today. I'll be around, or have a look at our website, particularly the section for business and employers, or email me, ktp@brooks. And thank you very much for your time.
And it was very nice. The slide before last was our KTP partner, Dr. Yu Chung Pang, and he was a PhD, not a student, but had his PhD working in a law firm, did great work for us. So you've heard a lot about Bicester. You've heard from 2 very different businesses, almost you might think from opposite ends of the spectrum. You know that Bicester has got land available. You know that Bicester has got housing available and more housing to be planned. And it was interesting when I looked at the pods and what's being talked about today, that one of the other pod sessions is how can you find homes available in Oxford for people? Well, Bicester, doesn't actually have that problem. There's affordable housing there for people. We have the opportunity of bringing skills into businesses and skills available. And as I've mentioned, we've got one of Bicester's newest schools present in the audience there. So please go and have a chat with some of the students there. And what do you need when you've got all this? The answer is you've got to have a vision. You've got to bring it all together. And that's where I'm delighted to introduce our last speaker, Adrian Shooter, the chairman of Bicester Vision. And many of you will know Adrian from his time when he was the chairman and managing director of Chiltern Railways. And Adrian's been the chairman of the Vision since its inception, I believe. No. Sorry, whoever the previous one. He's been the chairman for some time then. And one thing about Adrian is that it goes back to his railway days. He's an absolutely stickler for things running on time, so I've probably overrun by about 30 seconds. So please welcome, to talk about Bicester Vision, Adrian Shooter.
Thank you, Sean. I am actually, I have to regret, but a poor substitute, because you're supposed to have been having Phil Shadbolt here, who many of you will know. Phil, unfortunately, is unable to be here because during a night his mother was taken very ill. So I found out at 7 o'clock this morning I was going to have the pleasure to be here. I'll just say a little bit about Phil, though, because it's very relevant. He was actually a student at Oxford Brooks, and something over 20 years ago, he had an idea. And he set up his business, which has been very, very successful in Bicester, Zeta Lighting. One of his products is actually on the Bicester Vision stall outside. And Phil is a great enthusiast. He's a member of the LEP board as well as Bicester Vision. He's also, I think, on the Governing Council of Oxford Brooks as well. So, what is Bicester Vision? Well, as a former chairman of the LEP, I can actually say that those of us, and I was one of the founder directors, although not at that time the chairman, of Bicester Vision, can say that actually we invented LEPs before the government did. So 9 years ago, we set up Bicester Vision. And really, if you go back to that time, this spaceship that Miranda mentioned had landed about 10 years previously in Bicester. And those of us that set it up looked at the rest of Bicester and said, well, look, it's got a tremendous lot of potential, and that potential really needs to be realised. And again, just like the LEP, Bicester Vision doesn't actually do anything. The LEP doesn't actually do anything. But what both of them do is put a load of people in touch with each other. These are some of our various members. You see the substantial number of private sector members, and I'm pleased to say all three levels of local authority also involved. So the first thing about Bicester Vision is actually having conversations with people, and I've always found in business, that if you can get all the players in a particular team all pointing in the same direction and talking to each other, stuff happens, even without anything else. Now, of course, we do a little bit more than that. We employ a manager, Graham, I don't think he's in the audience, is he? He's at the stand. Well done, so he should be, yes. Who's, thank you very much, our former manager has just pointed that out to me. And our managers over the time have very much been our eyes and ears and really helping to make things happen. So we did found it in 2007. And the detail is there, but as I say, the underlying objective was to create more movement and activity and looking into the future in Bicester, which I think we're a fair way down the road. A long way to go, of course, but certainly Bicester is a much more dynamic place due to the efforts of our many members. So we do a whole lot of stuff, and education features very importantly in that. And I'm delighted to say that with a lot of encouragement from us over the last 5 years, we're going to get a studio school actually opening a little bit later this year. And that's very much aimed at helping youngsters find their way into the excitement of being involved in businesses and fitting them to be ideal candidates to work for companies. In fact, the studio school, the picture of it there on the right. And all the other things that we've done there, as you can see, and there's many other things that we've been involved in, they're all about helping businesses to help themselves. And I think that's probably the key of what we tried to do. Now, I was going to finish really with one example, something we're just embarking upon. And again, this is very much on that theme of helping businesses to help themselves. We're going to set up a business incubator. And this is essentially a space, and it's got desks and meeting rooms and all sorts of stuff, as you can see. But it's about encouraging youngsters, not necessarily youngsters, encouraging people who want to set up some small business, not really quite sure how to go about it. It's tremendously daunting. So introducing them to the various people that can help them, and by sitting amongst others, the networking, Dan talked about that sort of networking in his business park. This is exactly the same principle. If there's someone sat to your left that's just a little bit ahead of you in setting up their business, you could get ideas. You get the idea. I'm not entirely sure why we're providing sugar for their tea and coffee. I'm not sure that that's in line with the healthy living that we perhaps should be promoting. But nevertheless, you see, it's about providing facilities. We will have this thing open by the end of the year, and we hope that it's going to be the first of several. So, really, any of you who in this room, or have friends who are not in this room, who run businesses in Bicester, would like to come and get involved, please do so. We'd very much welcome you. And there you are, Mr. Chairman. I think I've brought you back on time.